Hello YouTube, thought I'd do a quick video here. I've been asked, can a cable be made up so you can hook up your interface board that's for the Retevis RT97s or the Midland MXR10 repeaters? Can that interface board, can a cable be made up so we can plug it into a mobile radio? And to answer your question, yes, you can. I'm going to tell you how to do it in this video. But before I get into that, I want to explain a few things first. First off, you're probably wondering, well, why would I want to hook up a mobile radio this way? Well, there's a couple reasons that you may need to do this. Let's say you have a repeater that does not ID itself, and that repeater does not have hookups on it so that you could hook up an interface board. Or maybe that repeater is in a very hard location. It's on a mountainside. You can't get to it. You can do it wirelessly without even going to the repeater site. That's the advantage of doing this. And using a mobile radio will give you more power to do this. This does not use VOX whatsoever. So you can use a cheap mobile radio, a 15 watt, a 25 watt, a 50 watt, whichever one you think you're going to need to get the job done. In my case, I happen to have a 50 watt radio here, and I have the mobile radio programmed to my repeater, and I have the handheld programmed to my repeater. So when this radio keys up with date and time and weather announcements, it's being transmitted to my repeater, then my repeater transmits it back to my handheld. That's how you're going to hear this. So it's real simple to do this. Now, I want to also be clear, doing it this way, you will not have Zello. Zello will not work this way. You will only have date, time, weather announcements, and repeater ID. Okay? So with that being said, do not plug in the power for the interface board. Leave this unplugged. Do not plug it in. If you plug it in, it's not going to work right because the interface board's looking for Zello and we're not using Zello. So you can leave the power supply not even plugged in. Now, when you leave the power supply not plugged in, obviously the lights on the interface board are not going to work. Not a big deal. We don't need lights. It'll work just fine without the lights. So again, do not plug in the power supply for the interface board. Now, you will need to purchase separately a USB sound card, a USB DB9, and depending on how you want to hook this up, you can buy a screw terminal. There's screws on here, so if you don't know how to solder, you can buy a female DB9 breakout connector. It's what this is called. Make sure it's female. Now, this connector does come with a case for it. I don't have it on for this video, but it does have a plastic case that does come with it. Or you can buy the solder type of connectors and solder your wires, whichever way you want to do it. But for people who don't know how to solder, you can buy this connector really cheap. Okay? So how you hook this up, it's really simple. Since this will not get Zello, we only need one cable hooked up to the sound card, and that cable is going to be the microphone in cable coming off the interface board, gets plugged into the USB sound card, speaker out. In this particular sound card, they show a little headphone symbol, so this microphone in cable gets plugged into there, into the sound card. Then obviously you plug in your DB9. You're probably wondering, well, which way is what? It's labeled on the circuit board. Computer would be the DB9. Repeater would be your connector, whether it's the solder type, whether it's the breakout box. It doesn't matter. For the cable here, I just took an old internet cable, Cat5 cable, I had laying around here. I cut the one end off. I spliced back the wires. That's how I did that. Truth be told, I don't have a RJ45 crimping tool. So I just took an old cable and cut off one end of it, and it works just fine. So that's how I did that. So you can find any cable. Don't have to be a certain type. As long as it's got an RJ45 that plugs into your microphone on your radio. Again, Zello will not work this way. Now, the other question is, do you need internet for this to work? You only need internet if you want weather announcements to work. If you do not need weather announcements, you do not need internet for this to work. You can do date, time, and repeater ID without internet. Okay? Now, if, like I said, if you want to use weather announcements, then you will need internet because it's got to pull the weather data off from the internet. So, keep that in mind. Now, this does not use any VOX. You can use a Raspberry Pi running Windows. Check my forum. I have all the information what it can and cannot do when you use a Raspberry Pi, but check my forum. You can also use a mini PC. You can also use a laptop. You can use a desktop, whichever computer you want to use with this setup. Okay, I'm using in this video my laptop. That's what I'm using. A cheap laptop is what I'm using. So that is that. Now I'm going to explain how to hook this up in a minute. But what I want to do first, before I start taking things apart, I want you to hear it work. Now, like I said, I have this programmed to my repeater frequency. I have the handheld programmed to my repeater frequency. This will transmit. You'll see a red light. This will receive. You'll see a green light. So it transmits to my repeater. Then my repeater transmits it back to the handheld. Okay? So what I'm going to do here is I'm wearing a headset to make this video. I'm going to take the headset off. I'm going to put it by the speaker here of the handheld. Now, hopefully there won't be too much feedback. But I'm trying to capture the sound. How does it sound? I'm trying to capture that. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to do I do have weather enabled on mine. I'm going to do date, time, weather announcements. Then right after that, I'm going to do my repeater ID, which is my call sign converted to Morse code. So that's how I'm going to do this. So let me take the headset off here. Let's turn the volume up here on here. Take the headset off and let's do the sound.
Sunday, 11 February 2024. Time is 12 p.m. Outdoor temperature 30 degrees. Wind speed 7 miles per hour.
So hopefully you heard that okay. It's hard to do that because of the feedback, but hopefully you heard it. So it works really well. I'm going to show you how I have the software. And all this is on my forum. You would set this up as if you were going to use it with Zello, but we're not using Zello. Zello will not work, but you set up the same way. So I'm running the COM port sharing software. I have date and time, and I do have weather enabled here. And then I do have, right here, I have the date and time and weather announcements here. And then I do have the simplex that runs my my repeater ID here. Again, I'm running COM port sharing software. To adjust the sound, you go to your speaker out. Make sure you select your USB sound card. And this is where you adjust your volume. Now, if it's too loud, you can turn it down here. If it's not loud enough, you turn it up. Now, this is the master volume here, but you can adjust independently the volume on the date and time here, okay? So it just depends on how you want it. It's real simple. Like I said, it's not difficult at all. Now, let's go back here, and let's talk about the hardware. Now, I want to show you this. Actually, let's take this apart here. Now, let's do this. Let's zoom this down here. Okay. Now, the nice thing about using a breakout connector is that it's labeled on the side here, the pin numbers. And what I mean, like, pin 6, pin 7. Hopefully you can see that right there. So it's labeled, so it's really easy to do this. There's screw terminals, okay? And you're probably wondering, well, how do I know what wire is what? Well, I'll show you how you look that up. But what you do is, a lot of these connectors are clear. Like I said, I took a Cat 5 cable, I cut off the end, and they're clear. So you can look at this and see the wires coloring. So like over here on the right hand side, there's a brown wire. So that's going to be, in my case, that's going to be pin 1. But you can see the colors of the wire here real easily when it's a clear connector. So you just find that color at the other end and you hook it up to what you need. Now you're probably wondering, well, how do I know what pins are what? Well, on my store website for my interface board, I do have a pinout of that available. And let's go ahead and call this up. First, I want to show you, you can probably look on eBay for the breakout connector. You might be able to get the free shipping. But here's Amazon. Like I said, it does come with a plastic cover. I don't have mine on, but it's like $7. Here, you can scroll through here, see it, $8. Now, the thing with Amazon is you got to have a minimum order to get free shipping or something like that. So just look on eBay too, and you might be able to find it. Might be a dollar or two more, but it'll have hopefully free shipping. So look on there. You want the female DB9 breakout connector. That's how you want to type it in. Okay. So now, let's go back to the radio here. So now you're probably wondering, well, how do I know on my radio, how do I know what pins are what on the microphone? Now, some manufacturers will have that info in their owner's manual. Retevis, this is a Retevis RT9000D radio. It does have it in their owner's manual. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to kind of show you how you kind of read this. It's not real difficult at all. So let's go ahead and go back to the computer here. I downloaded the owner's manual of the Retevis RT9000D. Now, do not assume your radio is the same way. You're going to have to look in the owner's manual. If it does not have it, you'll have to email the company to see if they can send you the diagram. But this is how Retevis does it. Now, note the connector here. They're showing the connector sideways. Well, obviously, on the radio itself, the tab here is facing down. So that means pin 1 would be on the right-hand side. And then you would look at the color of the wire, like I showed you earlier, to see what color was what. But the only pins that we're going to be worried about are pin 1, 2, 3, and 4. We only need to worry about ground, PTT, mic in, and mic ground. Do not hook up the other pins. I'm going to say that one more time. Do not hook up the other pins. We don't need them. We just need ground, PTT, mic in, and mic ground are the only pins we need. Okay? So, now if you go to my diagram, that you can go to my store for my interface board, I have it labeled here what pins are what. So pin 1 is ground, pin 2 is mic in, pin 3 is squelch, blah, 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 blah. So we just need to know a few pins out of here to do this. So if you take a piece of paper and you write down interface board on one side, your radio mic jack on the other side. We got to take pin 4 from the interface board, which is speaker out, would go into pin 3 of the mic in on my radio. Make sure you look up yours, but you want the mic in. Pin 9 on the interface board is PTT. For my radio, it would be pin 2. Pin 1 is ground, pin 1 is ground, pin 6 is mic ground, pin 4 is mic ground. Real simple. Speaker out has to feed from the interface board, has to feed the mic in on your radio. And then you got to do PTT. That's what keys up the radio. And then you got to have your grounds. Really simple, not hard to do at all. It's okay. And like I said, this should work with any type of mobile radio. And you can adjust the sound on your computer to the level you want. And there you have it. You know, pretty easy to do. So hopefully this video will answer your question on how to do that. If you have any questions or comments, please post them down below. Please subscribe. Thank you and have a good day.